Alright everyone, how's everyone doing today? Welcome back to another discussion specs based video. Now, I've been kind of torn as to whether or not I wanted to make this discussion specs based video, because this is talking about a uber expensive device and whether or not if I think it's worth it. So, what device am I talking about? What device do I think is worth it? What device do I think is not worth it? What device are we going to talk about the specs? This should be a really quick video, by the way. What are we talking about here? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 2 versus the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 4. Now, the Z Fold 2 is basically a 2-year-old device, whereas the Z Fold 4 literally just came out a couple days ago. It was announced on the 10th, and it should be fully publicly available on the 25th. And as of the recording of this video, it is August the 19th. So a few lucky individuals are getting their Z Folds ahead of time, and there are a bunch of reviewers out there dropping their Z Fold 4 reviews. And if I'm being 100% honest with y'all, I've been trying to get my hands on a Z Fold for a really long time, and I've kind of settled on the Z Fold 2. Why? Because the Z Fold 1, in my opinion, kind of was like a disaster, and it didn't really offer too many features over the traditional smartphone. The Z Fold 2, they made a lot of improvements and they fixed a lot of issues. And then the Z Fold 3 was where they started their iterative update. And the Z Fold 4 is again an iterative improvement over the Z Fold 2 and the Z Fold 3. So that being said, why would I spend $1,800? In some cases, depending on where you live and your eligible taxes, the taxes that you have to pay depending on your region, it can go upwards of like $2,000, $2,200 in some cases. Why would I want to pay that? If I'm going to pay that type of money, that's like really good used car money. That's like really good 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom rent for a house money. I am not gonna pay that type of money. Now, there's a lot of people, well, you don't have to pay that type of money because you could just go into your regular carrier, get the device on a payment program for like a year, 2 years, 3 years, and then you'll have the device. This is true, but I feel like any device that I'm going to get on a carrier payment program, I'm not going to get it unless I readily have that money to spend on it right then and there. Okay? Now, I'm all for doing a carrier payment program, but you gotta actually have the money to back it up. Otherwise, that's gonna bite you in the ass in the long run. If you think, oh, I can afford it now, then something gonna catch you by surprise and you're still gonna be stuck paying for the payments. So I always recommend that you buy the devices outright, but if you can see the way to get it on a carrier payment program and you can actually afford it, and you know it's not gonna bite you in the ass in the long run, go ahead and do it. But that being said, I feel like that price, $1,800 to $2,200 for the Z Fold 4, it's not worth it. even if you go on your carrier payment program, it's like $45 to $75 a month for 24 months. Even that is not worth it. Granted, they have some really good trade-in deals, and this is where I have to give Samsung the kudos, because when Samsung drops a new device, they offer phenomenal trade-in deals. So there is a way for you to get the Z Fold 4 for next to nothing. But why would I get the latest device and have to jump through some hoops when an older device will be just as good? So y'all can see here, we're comparing the Z Fold 4 to the Z Fold 2, and look at the major difference in price point off the back. Okay, so they're quoting, we're using GSM Arena here again today. Y'all know I like to use GSM Arena for the specs-based discussion videos and comparisons. I feel like they give you everything that you need to know in one spot. I'll link up all the relative information down below in the video description. How I always do, y'all know I love to cite my work and give the appropriate affiliated buy links, so on and so forth. Y'all know what that title means by now. Let's keep it moving. But yeah, why would I pay $1,800 to $2,200 when I can pay a third of that for the Z Fold 2? So you can see $1,800 directly from Amazon, or you can get the Z Fold 2 for basically, you can call it $760. Okay, and that's from eBay. Now, I've actually seen the Z Fold 2 ranging in price on Amazon from $600 to $850. Now, that's well outside my price range, but if I was going to swipe the card and drop that type of money, that's more along the price that I would want to pay. Okay, $600 to $850. Even though I could never see myself paying that, that's like rent money. If I was going to, I'm much more apt to pay that versus $1,800 to $2,200. Now, again, I know y'all will say, you're not paying all that outright if you get it on the carrier payment program. I understand that, but like I said, I'm not going to just jump on a carrier payment program without having that money in the bank already. Okay, you should never do that. You should never get something and be like, oh, I can afford it now, and you don't know if you actually have the money for it. Don't do that. You're setting yourself up for failure. Don't do that. But anyways, let's run through the specs, and I'm going to explain to y'all why I feel the Z Fold 2 is a lot better purchase here in mid 2022 over the new Z Fold 4. And basically, it's pretty much the same device, but with more decent cameras. Okay, so you can see when we talk about the Z Fold 4, they made their improvements to the outer display, pretty much the same size outer display as the Z Fold 3 and the Z Fold 2, just less bezels. And they made their tiny improvements to the inner display, making it more compact and pixel dense, so it looks a little bit better. But you still have that really bad under display camera and all that, whereas you don't have that with the Z Fold 2. You get a really good outer display camera, and you get a really good inner display camera with a cutout. Alright, and then you have the same camera layout on the rear, minus you get the slightly upgraded main cameras on the Z Fold 4, but most of that stuff Samsung is going to carry through with software updates. Okay, so let's run it through it. Let's talk about the networks and carrier support. Now, these come in regular variants, 4G LTE variants, and 5G variants. And if you get the unlocked 5G variants, it will work across all the major carriers. So 4G LTE and 5G will work across all the major carriers except for Verizon. Again, Verizon has their own version of 5G, so you will need to get the Verizon specific 5G Fold device if you're a Verizon customer. If not, 4G LTE is going to work just fine. But here's the bands for 4G and 5G on your Z Fold 2 and your Z Fold 4. So basically the same. Okay, basically the same. Alright, so let's get out of that. So no issues in terms of carrier support. Should be good there. And if we look at the release dates, as I've said, it's pretty much a 2-year gap. The Z Fold 2 came out in 2020 and the Z Fold 4 just came out in 2022. So you're taking a older device that's been getting better with software updates versus a newer device that literally just came out. Okay, so you do have some better software features on the newer device, but 9 times out of 10, all of those software features are going to filter down to the older device. So if you just have enough patience, you should be okay. But talking about the body and the display, it's basically the same. Again, just remember that you get a better selfie camera on the Z Fold 2 with a 10 megapixel shooter on the outside, and then you get a better selfie camera on the Z Fold 2 with a 10 megapixel camera on the inner display with a punch hole, versus the 10 megapixel camera on the Z Fold 4 on the outside and the 4 megapixel under display camera on the Z Fold 4 on the inside. Okay, granted, the under display camera does make the inner display on the Z Fold 4 look a lot better and more seamless, because it looks like a traditional smartphone when it's closed, and it looks like a traditional small form factor tablet when it's open. So it does look a little bit better to have that under display camera, but you are losing out in the camera quality. Okay, and based on everything that I'm seeing, aside from the pixel technology, the camera on the inner display for the Z Fold 4 looks basically the same as the Z Fold 3. And again, it pales in comparison to the cameras on the Z Fold 2. At least when we talk about the selfie cameras and the inner display camera. Okay? But talking about the body, same glass aluminum sandwich. Okay? And you can see they're both using Gorilla Glass Victus wherever applicable. Okay. Now, there is one improvement over the Z Fold 3 and Z Fold 4 over the 2. They did incorporate waterproofing with the IPX8 rating for the Z Fold 3 and the Z Fold 4. The Z Fold 2 is not waterproof, so you can't take it to the beach. I mean, you could, but I wouldn't recommend it. You can't take it in the bathroom with you, in the shower with you. I mean, you could, but I wouldn't recommend it, because you're dropping a hell of a lot of money on this device. So you need to be careful with it, especially if you want to get the return on your investment. Okay, because this is essentially a phone when you need it, a tablet when you want it. That's kind of what the Fold series is trying to do. It's trying to bridge the gap between two different devices. So instead of walking around with a phone when you're out and about and a tablet when you're in the house, you have a phone when you're out and about and a tablet when you need it and a tablet when you're in the house. Alright, it's bridging the gap between two different form factors and two different devices. But that is the improvement over the Fold 3 and Fold 4 over the Fold 2. You do have the waterproofing, and you also get the stylus support. You don't have any stylus support with the Fold 2. Okay? But in all honesty, I don't really use a stylus that much, so that's not really a big issue for me. But you can see They both support dual SIM with a nano SIM and an eSIM, okay, on either device. So there's really no gain or loss there, okay. And if we keep scrolling through, get down to the display, we got a 6.2-inch outer display. Again, we have more bezel on the outer display for the Fold 2 versus less bezel on the outer display for the Fold 4. But it's basically the same size. It just looks a little bit better on the Fold 4. Okay? And then moving to the inner display, they both have a 7.6-inch inner display with 120 hertz. Okay? HDR10 plus 120 hertz. Now, for all my hertz heads, y'all are going to be very happy with that. But as for me, I don't really see the difference in the high refresh rates displays. So it's just going to look like a good display to me. And based on what I've seen and what I've had the ability to play around with, it just looks like a good display to me. Can't really tell the difference in the high refresh rate, but that's the differences in display. Again, there really aren't any, aside from you get smaller bezels on the outer display and you get a more pixel dense display on the inner display with the Z Fold 4. Alright, you can see in terms of software, they're pretty much going to be running the same software. Okay, it's flagship chips on both devices. I'm sure they could run the same software. Okay, we have the Snapdragon 865, and then we have the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 version 2. Okay, so both flagship processors with the accompanying Adreno GPUs. So these are flagship chips. It's going to be a beast when it comes to productivity. It's going to be a beast when it comes to gaming. It's just going to be a beast overall. All right. So no issues when we talk about performance. Now, when we talk about memory, y'all can see in terms of the internal memory, it's 12 gigs of RAM, and it's 256 and 512, or 256, 512, and 1 terabyte. So the only difference with the internal memory and storage is for the Z Fold 4, they added that 1 terabyte option. So if you're picking up this device and this is going to be your main device until it dies, you might want to go with the most storage you can get. But honestly, 256 should be just fine for me. 256 worked perfectly fine when I had the Sony Xperia, so 256 should be perfectly fine. But you can see in terms of the internal speeds, basically the same. No micro SD card expansion on either. Okay, so you really want to go with the storage option you think you're going to be able to take full advantage of. Now again, think of the pricing in terms of $50 to $100 increments. All right, so you're getting the 256 for $760. Just add another $50 to $100 depending on the storage option that you want. So 256 for $760, or about $810 ish, or about maybe $9 if you want to max it out. But again, 256 should be more than enough, in my opinion, at least for my use case. But that's what we got when we talk about memory and storage. Both having 12 gigs of RAM is just the additional option of the 1 terabyte option. No micro SD card expansion. Now, moving on to the cameras. As I said earlier, it's basically the same camera layout, except for the Z Fold 4, we get a slightly improved main sensor. So for the Z Fold 2, we got a 12, 12, and 12 on the rear. But for the Z Fold 4, we got a 50, 12, and 12. But you can see they can still both record the same thing. So 4K 60 on the back, 4K 30 on the front, okay? So regardless of whichever device you go with, it's still going to have the same recording capabilities. It's just going to look slightly better on the Z Fold 4 versus the Z Fold 2. Again, keep in mind with software updates, all the software improvements are going to filter down to the Z Fold 2. Okay? And again, if we jump over to the selfie cameras, we have a 10 megapixel selfie on the outer display versus a 10 megapixel punch hole selfie on the inner display for the Z Fold 2 versus a 4 megapixel under display selfie for the inner display on the Z Fold 4. In my opinion, based on the videos that I've seen on YouTube, the Z Fold 2 has better selfie cameras. Okay? In terms of the primary cameras, is pretty much depending on situation. But it's still really good cameras on either. Okay? So, moving on there. Now, they both have stereo speaker setups, quad speaker setups, tuned by AKG. Alright, so you're getting really good speaker setups on both. Okay? No headphone jacks on either. They both have dual band Wi-Fi support. They are both rocking some of the latest and greatest Bluetooth. No issues there. They're both rocking the same NFC and Samsung Pay with MST or MITS, MIT, MITS. So they have the technology to where it can replace the functionality of a credit card and a debit card on your device. So it's a little bit better than just using the traditional NFC. But they both do have the traditional NFC technology on board. They're both rocking the same USB 3.2 USB-C support with the same OTG support on either. So that's good stuff there. They both have the physical side-mounted fingerprint sensors on the side of the device. We already talked about the MITS support or the MIT support for the credit card simulation and debit card simulation. Alright, and here's the funny thing. With the newer device, you're actually getting a smaller battery versus a slightly bigger battery on the older device. And then other than that, they have the same functionality. Okay, so same 25 watt wired charging, same 11 watt wireless charging, and same 4.5 watt reverse power share. Okay, so you can charge your wireless earbuds or another device that supports wireless charging with the reverse power share, and you do have wireless charging on both and the same wired charging speeds on both. So essentially, why would I recommend the Fold 2 over the Fold 4? Well, you're getting slightly better selfie cameras and you're getting pretty much the same device. Okay, you're just missing out on some iterative updates. Okay, again, a slightly bezel-less display on the outside and a slightly more screen dense display on the inside, but the Fold 2 should serve just fine. Alright, so at least for me, if I was gonna spend the money, I would just save the money and go with the Fold 2 and skip out on the Fold 4. Alright, that's just my opinion. Now, as I always do, I'm gonna link up some coverage from some really good content creators on both devices. Okay, I'm gonna have the affiliated buy links linked up down below as well for both devices, and as the name implies, when y'all use those links, I do get a small percentage of kickback that I do put back into the channel so I can keep bringing you guys content and keep producing content, and that's at no additional cost to you guys and gals. So if you want to pick up a Z Fold 2 or you want to pick up a Z Fold 4 and you like the style of video and the style of coverage that I do on the channel, consider using those affiliated links there, because it really is a big help to the channel and it's at no additional cost to you guys and gals at the end of the day. So as always, if your interest is piqued, down below in the video description will be like a one-stop shop for you guys and gals, and you should be good to go. That being said, how do y'all feel about the Z Fold 4? Okay, how do y'all feel about picking up the older Z Fold 2? How do you feel Samsung did with their Fold launch this year? Honestly, I was a little disappointed. Like, the Folds, okay, it's a good device. The Flips, I'm not a fan of that flip technology. Now, I do have friends that like the Flip, but I'm not a fan of it. And they really didn't do much. I mean, they launched their new watches. Their watches look great, especially the Pro Watch. That one definitely looks like a winner in my book. And they launched their new earbuds. And, you know, I was kind of excited, but they didn't really bring anything new to the game, especially in terms of the earbuds and the battery life. So I was very disappointed. Sat through the whole release event and I was like, okay, so it was basically iterative updates all around. So me myself, I was disappointed, but it is what it is. Okay, but how do y'all feel about the Z Fold 4, the new watches, and the new Flip 4, and the new earbuds? Let's get into a nice, respectful conversation about all the new goodies versus all the old goodies down below in the comments. I'll meet you guys and gals down there. And as always, guys and gals, remember to keep it respectful, please. We're all grown-ups here, so we should all be able to respectfully express our opinion. So keep it respectful, please. That being said, I hope everyone is having a great day. I hope you guys and gals are staying safe out there. I hope you guys and gals enjoyed this video and you found it helpful. If you wanted to see the specs differences and a real quick comparison between the two devices, if you're considering getting one or upgrading from one to the other, keep in mind, if you're upgrading, they do have some ridiculously good trade-in values for the upgrade to the Fold 4. So please, if you're upgrading, don't be afraid to take advantage of that and save as much money as possible, because after all, that's what we're all about on this channel right here, getting y'all the best performing devices and products at the cheapest possible prices. That's what the channel is all about. But that being said, I'm gonna get up out of here because it's gonna take me a minute to load this on the tablet, edit it all up, and publish it out to y'all. But as I said, I hope everyone enjoyed the video. I hope y'all found it helpful. Hope everyone is staying safe out there and having a great day. And I will catch everyone in the next one. We are out of here. Have a good one, everybody. Peace.